President, I want to thank not only the senator from North Dakota, but the senator from North Dakota and many others for the effort that has been made to get us to this point where we will soon have the opportunity to vote to lift a 40-year-old ban on export. We are the only nation in the world who produces oil who limits our ability to export that. It's a policy that 40 years ago may have made sense at that time, but it is so outdated. It is so past time that we recognize that we are that energy superpower. And as that energy superpower, act like one. And the senator from North Dakota mentions that there were very few people initially that thought that this could be done. In January of 2014, I gave a speech to the Brookings Institute, and I called for the repeal of the ban. And at that time, I was the first policymaker that really kind of got out front and kind of said what a lot were thinking, but we're thinking maybe this is way too soon. And a couple months later, I had the opportunity to lay out a framework or a pathway forward, a pathway that said, we're not going to lay down legislation right now. We're going to build the case. 2014 is going to be the year of the report. And there were some dozen reports that came out, very considered, substantive reports that came out and said, you know what? This isn't going to increase the price of oil. You know what? This is going to be good for jobs and our economy. You know what? This is going to be great, important, vital for our role around the world to help our allies, to help others who would like to rely on our energy resources rather than Russia or Iran. And so that path was set. And I think it set the table for where we are now, where in 2015 we were able to introduce legislation, to have it heard before our committee, to move the bill out of committee, to see the House do the same, move it across the floor, and get us then to the point where we could consider it in various legislative vehicles. Didn't quite work with NDAA, didn't quite work with the Iran bill, didn't quite work with the transportation bill, but now we are here with this omnibus package. And again, Mr. President, recognizing that this is so substantive from a domestic policy perspective is something that I think the occupant of the chair, as well as Senator Heitkamp, as well as Senator Heinrich from New Mexico, all producing states, can recognize the enormous gains. But I think we also need to consider the very real, very substantive difference that we will make when, as an energy superpower, we are able to share our resource, whether it is oil, whether it is natural gas, to help, whether it is our friends in Europe, whether it is Poland, who is 95% reliant on Russia for their oil, whether it is South Korea, Japan. Alaska has been able to export its oil since 1996, when we received basically a waiver. And so we have seen the benefits that oil exports bring. Our state has had that ability to do so. Why should the rest of the country not see that benefit? We have exported, again, since 1996 with our oil. We've exported our natural gas from Cook Inlet. And it's actually been the longest term export contract that this country has seen was for our natural gas. So we've seen the benefit. We know that when we are the export trading partner, we as the nation benefit from it, whether it's jobs, revenues, growth, prosperity. This is good. This is a win, and it's very important. So I again appreciate the efforts of so many that have brought us to the place that we are at today. I think we acknowledge that, yes, there are heavy legislative lifts around here, but I think when you work constructively to build the case, to try to depoliticize to the extent possible, to avoid the partisanship that can come into specific issues by saying, let's examine this from a policy perspective. Does it make sense to lift sanctions on Iran for their oil and keep in place a ban on our U.S. oil producers, effectively sanctioning U.S. oil producers? I think we got a lot of colleagues when we raised that question to them. Think about it from the policy perspective and whether it's good or outdated. And this one was outdated, and it was time to go. So I thank Senator Heitkamp for yielding for just a moment and allowing me to speak very briefly to what I think is very significant for this country, both domestically and internationally. Let's let the United States of America be that energy superpower that we are.